Hey there. Good Friday morning and welcome into the Real Monica Adams Show. Thrilled to have you with us. We are at home, so it's Mobile Monica, brought to you by Invita Health and Wellness, and we love them. In fact, we want to thank all of our sponsors, so that'll come straight from my heart, and you'll see it across the screen as well. Of course, Invita Health and Wellness has been with us for almost a full year now, from when we first launched this show back in March, and then we went into our studios in June. We'll be back there with Dr. Sarah Franco and Dr. Sean Neary for our Medical Monday Ask the Doctor segment on Monday. Today, though, I'm really thrilled. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk some movies. One of my favorite things in my career was to cover entertainment news. And for the last couple of years at Channel 5, I was able to do a ton of press junkets. They were all virtual, of course, because we were in the middle of the pandemic. And then right at the end, I was able to go to LA and New York, and we were talking about the movie Babylon and the Whitney Houston movie. I wanted to bring that back as a component of this show, and we're starting to do that a little at a time and hope that we get a chance to start going back to the New Yorks, the LAs, and then all over. My friend Kevin Steincross covered it at Fox 2, and I'll never forget the one that he was able to go to. It was for Couples Retreat. Remember that movie? He went to Bora Bora for that. I mean, come on. How incredible, right? Well, those are the things that we're going to start sprinkling in. Some fun times, some really emotional times. We bring you hope when we go through the darkness. We bring you out of it. So if you're new to the show and you don't know what the show's all about, positivity, guiding light, hope, and carving out your future, right? The vision boards a lot of you do, carving out the vision for your life. Today, we're going to have fun with a guy who saw an incredible future for him in the film industry. His name is Doc Krotzer, and he's going to be my guest. And the movie we're going to talk about today is Roadhouse. Did you know that there is a new Roadhouse out? And I want to stress, it is not a remake of the 1989 movie that many of you hopefully had a chance to see with the wonderful and late departed Patrick Swayze. Well, now in Dalton's role, it's Jake Gyllenhaal, and the guy next to him that's in some incredible fights, Conor McGregor. There's Conor on the right, by the way, and look how ticked off Dalton looks. Yep, those two are going to go head to head, not just in the bar, but they take it to the water. And one of the things that we're going to talk about with Doc today is just how difficult the shooting and the editing was. Here's some of the behind the scenes as they were shooting those scenes out in the middle of the ocean. Imagine trying to fight on a boat. It's really an amazing action-packed film, and you're going to be doing the ooh, ah, oh my gosh. Billy Magnuson is in the movie as well. And of course, there's going to be a romantic interest. It's not, again, the apples to apples thinking that the movie is going to be just like the 1989 flick. There are some similarities, and there's some lines left in there that I think are very important to bring homage to the 1989 flick. But it is officially out on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it. I asked for some of you to do your homework and watch it yesterday. If you got a chance, you can weigh in on it for me. Let's do the what the weather. Today is going to be stunning. In fact, I want to reach out to some friends and see if they want to go out and have lunch, maybe go out and have a drink for happy hour. 70 degrees, folks. It's going to be gorgeous. By the way, the moon was so pretty today. The full moon is coming up on Monday. Tonight, there is a slight chance, and I do mean slight. At 5 o'clock, you might have about a 20% chance of rain, 30% chance by about 8 o'clock. Some of us will miss it altogether and it'll stay dry. Tomorrow, though, it's only going to be a high of 54. And if, like me, you're going to go to the St. Louis City SC game against DC United, that game kickoff is at 7:30. But a lot of people going down early around 4:30 outside to do a little pregame party. Get in early and support, walk around the gorgeous stadium and support all the local vendors. Try some new food if you've been before, or maybe do like a little progressive thing. That's what I like to do. Grab a little thing here and then go over a little thing there and just enjoy the stadium. Don't be rushing down there. Give yourself some time also, because the Poplar Street Bridge and the King Bridge are closed this weekend. They're going to start that tonight and then reopen it on Monday morning, the first of 6 weekends, according to IDOT. We'll be keeping an eye on that traffic construction for you. But I would say not just for those going eastbound into Illinois, but I would say all those feeding highways into downtown. So if you are heading down for anything, just give yourself a little extra time. Please be patient. Be kind to each other on the roadways. And if you go across the Poplar Street Bridge, you will have to dump off there on southbound Route 3. So just know that. Use the Stam Usual Veterans Memorial Bridge if you have to get in to Illinois. But bundle up if you're going to that game tomorrow night, because the low around the time of the game is going to be 48. So it's going to be a chilly one. 61 on Sunday, and then a little breezy and rain coming in for you on Monday and Tuesday. 68 for a high on Monday with rain chances chances, and then 50 for a high on Tuesday with some rain chances. So that's the weather for you. I'm going to give you some news you can use, but before I do that, let me give you a little positivity. I love what I just woke up to. So I quickly, within like 2 minutes of starting the show, wanted to put this one together for you. I woke up to this and I was told that the woman said that she was inspired by the positivity from our show. So look at that. It's positivity tokens. Teresa Seavey wrote me about 5 hours ago and said, Monica, inspired by your positivity message, we are now laser engraving and we have plans for more items, but these are the first positivity tokens, an affirmation jar for a positive attitude. Folks, isn't that super cool? How awesome is that? All because of the inspiration that we've been providing over this last year. And I've had a chance to meet Teresa. Love her. She is behind, by the way, as you maybe get a chance to see that logo on the left side, Sugar Loaf Farm. And you can find them, by the way, at sugarloaffarmbees.com. We gave away something from them around Valentine's Day, and they are hosting another all women's vendor event at Kelly's Resale and Collectibles, which is on Graveway Road in High Ridge. It is tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. She said it's grown into a huge party. So get this, they have food trucks now, giveaways, a premier issue magazine publisher, 35 guest vendors, along with the 80 plus vendors inside of Kelly's. She said Kelly's and Sugarloaf Farms have been collecting shoes as well. So this is another part of the community that we've collected. They've been collecting for Souls, which is a wonderful organization. Grab your shoes and maybe you can drop them off there if you stop by the event. She said she would love it if Jim and I could make it out. She said she is just loving the fact that it's grown and grown and loves the part that the communities are connecting together. So again, it's 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it is, I'm going to give you the address. It's 1692 Graveway Road in High Ridge. It's going to be at Kelly's Resale and Collectibles. So I'm going to ask Jim if we can run by there after I train clients in the morning to go and support the ladies. There you go. You're always looking for fun and new things to do on the weekend. I thought that one was pretty cool, don't you? Let me say hi to some of you real quick before we get into our awesome LA Hollywood interview. Linda Eckert, good morning. Julie Fabian, good morning. Kathy Holden Reed, Lisa Frumhoff, good morning and glad you had a great workout. Sean, good morning. Michelle Harmon, of course, good morning to you. Love you. From Dayton, Ohio, still on vacation. Sean, hope you're enjoying it. Kathleen Morris, Leona Reed, good morning. Good morning. Julie Purcell, did you get your nephew a puppy? Well, I sent him pictures. Jessica, about middle afternoon yesterday, sent me a bunch of dogs. He's looking for a pit bull mix because he's got one already. He said that they are just the most amazing, adorable dogs. He's got a pitty mix and he'd like to have another one. So she sent me about 5 or 6 dogs that they have available. And if you didn't hear, Yuppie Puppy Pet Spa in Cottleville is where we are on Thursdays, every other Thursday. They also have an O'Fallon location. They're doing Bark Madness. It'll be going on Friday through this weekend and into next week, just like the basketball games. And so if you want to do like kind of like that speed dating aspect, they're going to be doing that at Yuppie Puppy Pet Spa. And I know Leona and Marilyn are going by. She said, Monica, pray for me because I really feel like it's time for me to open my heart. She's going by to try to find her forever dog. I really hope that works. And then, yes, I'm hoping that my nephew got my text and that he is going to look into those. Let's see, Michelle, I'm free if my boss doesn't have too much for me to do. All right, Michelle, let's hang today, honey. Traffic Diva always. Marilyn, good morning. Wayne, good morning. Julie, oh, I wish I could go. Good morning. Thank you for the great workout. Off school today. Oh, wonderful. Have a great Friday and a weekend. Julie Fabian, good morning. Stephanie Newbill, good morning, good morning, good morning. I think I said good morning to everybody. Let me pop over real quick to Instagram to all of you. All right. I hope you're all having a great start to your day. And as I mentioned, I want to make sure that we thank all of our incredible sponsors. So here we go. Invita Health and Wellness. Kathy Kilo Peterson, we love you so much. And I'm going to have her be the sponsor of today's segment, which again is all about Hollywood. If you don't know Kathy and you're new to the show, she is the person that you want taking care of you and every aspect of insurance. KKilo.com, State Farm agent, I call her extraordinaire, 636-561-6460. And she knows the motto and she has it proudly displayed at her place saying to be kind always. Thank you, Kathy. We love you. And and get a hold of her for supplemental insurance for your kids, your grandkids, yourself, your home, your auto, you name it. So many levels of what they do at Kathy Kilo Peterson's State Farm Agency, kkilo.com. Thank you to you. But not just to those two, also to Yuppie Puppy Pet Spa, having us for the positive talk time every other Thursday, to Defiance Ridge Vineyards for our Wetcha Wissa Wednesday. And what an incredible one it was this past Wednesday with Ruby Lee. And our newest, Mid America Spine and Rehab. Those are our regular sponsors, but we also have all these wonderful mobile Monicas like Bike Stop Cafe coming up next Thursday with Dr. Jody Devonshire. We're going to sit down and do a woman to woman talk. I hope you can come by for breakfast or coffee or tea. Come by, get off the Katy Trail and say hi to us. I would love that. And we have some other segments coming up, including Mother's Day, where we're going to be at the Artisan and Farmers Market. I can't wait. We're actually going to sit down with the couple behind that. That's coming up in April. Let me give you the date on that because I want you to hear about all the local connections that they have and how they pull that all together. Our April, by the way, we are booked all the way on Tuesdays for the whole month of April, except for the final one. We're going to sit down with Melissa and John Knoll on Tuesday, April 16th, and we'll be hearing all about what will take place at that vendors market. And again, supporting local, please, and getting everything you can with your vendors and getting fresh produce and just having a good time. It's going to be a good time on Mother's Day. Patrick Murphy, by the way, you remember him from PBS, Channel 9. We're going to talk about his new World's Fair book. That's on Tuesday, April 9th. On April 2nd, we're going to have Richard Melching in, who many of you get to know by comments. He's going to be talking about Dude's Playground. I can't wait for that. And then I've got a little question mark for a possible interview with a dear friend of mine who owns the Healing Arts Center, Tom Tessero, on April 23rd. That should be coming about. Next Tuesday, we will feature Circus Harmony and the Fountain on Locust. Do you know that they have a new location opening up in June? I can't wait for that. And we're going to talk about some fundraisers to help support Circus Harmony. So this team is busy, folks. There's a lot going on for sure. All right, news you can use. Kia owners, Hyundai owners, there is a recall, and you're going to be getting messages in the mail within the next month or definitely by May telling you about what models. You could probably find them right now in some of the news stories if you want to look deeply into it. But there's something that's happening to the battery, and it could cause a malfunction to where it wouldn't charge, and then a lot of the things in the car wouldn't work. So Kia and Hyundai owners, if you have one of those, you might want to look into the news stories. Otherwise, you will get a letter in the mail in the next month to 2 months. Also, did you buy some Starbucks holiday mugs around Christmas time, maybe in Thanksgiving into Christmas, and you've got those and you use those on a regular basis? 440,000 of those holiday mugs are being recalled because of how hot they are and what's happening when they're heated up in the microphone, that they are burning people. There's been multiple reports of people getting burnt by these mugs. So those are being recalled, and you can take them back to the location that you purchased them for a full refund. You might want to check that out. These are things that I say, here's news that you might want to go a little bit deeper into if you think you're affected by that. And then here's what's trending in Los Angeles: ice bath speed dating. I'm not kidding, folks. I saw this morning. There's like 3 minutes. You step into an ice bath with a person you absolutely do not know. 3 minutes. They're all given cards. The cards are laminated with a group of questions to ask. And I think one of the guys was like shivering, saying, "What's your biggest accomplishment?" I mean, how do you even get anything out of your mouth while you're freezing, trying to go through that and do a little speed dating? They do say, since they started it, that they've got at least one couple that has gotten engaged and married, other ones that have continued on beyond that, and then maybe other ones that have just started friendships. When they get out of the 3 minute ice bath, they then get a chance to warm up and they go over into a sauna. What do you think about that? Would you do it? I think it's pretty funny. If I was still in the dating world, I actually would. I'm very into adventure and I'm very open-minded. I think it would be funny. There's a lot of people, by the way, are very big into ice baths anyway, for healing components. They do it for sports. A lot of people have gotten into it for burning fat, all those different things. So why why not do it and just have a laugh about it? I will tell you, when I was in my 20s, I used to say that the best place to meet somebody that you might be interested in, if you're into fitness, was at like a beach party. I mean, I used to think about like, the old Elvis movies and Annette Funicello movies, things like that. They're like, oh, they're all out on the beach. You can see how somebody's built. You can see their inhibitions gone. I mean, you're just putting it all out there, right? You're maybe in a bikini or a swimsuit, or they've got the guys who have their shirts off. You can see how they're built and you interact together. That's how I used to always say I wanted to meet someone because I was very into fitness. Well, hey, here you are, your swimsuits getting into an ice bath. Let me know what you would think about that. Julie says she saw the ice bath dating. I think it would be chill. Ha ha, Lisa, very funny. Yes, Richard Melching Sr. will be on April 2nd talking about Dude's Playground. Yes, he is. Marilyn says she's excited to see Richard. Love to put a face to the name. Well, yeah, you may have missed him. He came out to our 200th episode. I was able to meet he and Dude. Karen Manzelli, good morning. By the way, Karen and I are going to be talking. I'm so proud of her. She stepped out of her comfort zone. I mean, she's been through a lot. She lost her husband, her best friend, and he's now guiding her and watching over her and guided her to her own travel agency, folks. You want to talk about really having guts and leaping when you don't have a partner anymore for that support. She's got her family around her. She stepped out, and I've got some ideas to team up with her because one of the things I've always wanted to do was to go on vacations with all of you that have supported me over the years, active vacations, just really going deep into travel. So I'm talking to her about that, she and her business partner, and we're going to kick around some ideas. So you might see her name and meet her very, very soon. Yes, Leona, fortunately, I'm off today work and I'm there for my longtime friend. Marilyn, you guys have to text me and let me know if she finds her forever doggy. Diane, hats by Diane. I love you. Good morning to you. Michelle, your doctor says you don't do ice baths. I know, and I'm married, so I don't have to do it, Michelle. Look, I've got another mom. All right, everybody. I've given you, I think, all the news that you can use. Sports news again, St. Louis City SC against DC United. There were some tickets available within the last couple of weeks. Don't know if they still are, but if you can find some tickets, do so because it is the most incredible time. I'm telling you, that stadium is one of the most beautiful that I have ever seen. We should be very proud of it. All right, 7:16. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to sit down. We're going to visit with Doc Kratzer. I hope you enjoy this interview all about Roadhouse. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online envitahealthandwellness.com. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online envitahealthandwellness.com. All right, well, welcome back. As we mentioned going into the break, we were going to talk about Roadhouse. Now, we all remember the original with Patrick Swayze, just an amazing movie. I can't believe that was back in 1989. That is just absolutely crazy. And here we are, not a remake, but I like how Conor McGregor says it. He says it's a reimagination. And we're going to actually localize it. So we're going to talk with Doc Kratzer. Doc has actually been on our show twice. We're bringing him back because he, from our area, edited on this movie, Roadhouse, which is officially out now exclusively on Amazon Prime. Let me bring him on. Hi, Doc. Good to see you again.
Hi, good morning. Good to see you.
So you right now you're in LA. You're not in St. Louis right now. Is that right? You're working on an
Yeah,
independent film?
yeah. I'm in LA working on a movie, and we kind of go back and forth between the spots we need to be and home visiting family. So it's nice.
Absolutely. Well, for people who didn't get a chance before we get into the movie that you edited here for Roadhouse, before we do that, some people may have not seen you on with our show before. So you're from our area. Where'd you grow up?
From St. Louis, grew up in Florissant.
And where'd you go to
Went
school?
St. Louis University High School, and then Mizzou, and then I moved to LA right after undergrad. Originally, my plan was to go to grad school, but then things happened, and I took a job in LA in the film business, and that was kind of my first job and first start out here, and have been doing it in LA and New York for the last almost 20 years.
Incredible. And you've worked on some amazing projects. We talked about last
Thank you.
time. For those of you that watch Glee, he had worked on that. You worked with my favorite. You still got to introduce me to Julia Roberts, Doc. I'm waiting for this one.
Working on it. Yeah.
Eat, pray, love. So, I mean, I think I asked you last time, and it's hard to ask this question of, is there a favorite project that you've worked on? What would the answer be?
It's really hard. I mean, I obviously when you work on anything, you want to have a lot of pride in each thing that you do. So I have different favorites for different reasons. I mean, I think Glee, of all the things I've worked on, Glee certainly had the kind of widest reach and spoke to the widest range of people, I think. There were senior citizens who loved the show, there were kids who loved the show, everything in between. So that was a fun one, and that was also fun because even for the kind of 15 minutes that Glee had of its fame, although it was longer than that, but um, it uh, it was a show that everyone knew, even if they hadn't seen it. They're like, "Oh, I know that show," and
Right.
that's fun because for those of us who kind of do what I do, you work just as hard on each project, but not all of them are kind of verbally known.
True.
I mean, especially these days with streaming, there's so much content out there. So it
Absolutely.
is really fun when you're working on something. And Roadhouse has been similar in that it's in kind of the last month and a half or so leading up to this release, it's all over the place. People, even if they don't know exactly what it is, if they don't know the original, they've like seen a poster or they've seen an interview with
Right.
Jake or something.
Right.
So that's been really fun too. So that's a hard question to answer. I feel like I have a different answer every day
Every time you
depending
come back,
upon what I'm
I'll
thinking
ask you
about.
a
Yeah,
different.
yeah,
If you're just tuning in again, Doc Kratzer from our area, but now in LA working on a project. But he recently worked on this Roadhouse. So I'm showing you the original. I cannot believe, Doc, it was 1989. Wow, what an iconic movie. And so
yeah.
when you were on last time, you told us, hey, I'm going to be working on Roadhouse. And I was like, Roadhouse is being remade. And you said the same thing that I'm seeing that Connor's saying. Well, it's a reimagination of it. So explain that.
Yeah, it's not a kind of apples to apples remake where you're taking the exact same story set in the exact same place and the exact same script and just sort of recasting it with actors from today. It takes a lot of the things people love about the original, but it kind of reinvents the story in its own way. And I think for a movie like Roadhouse, like the original that's so beloved by so many and so memorable and so unique in its own way. I think you have to kind of try and do it this way, where it is a reimagining. Because if you try and capture that same lightning in a bottle as the original, I don't think that's the type of thing you can reverse engineer. So this one has a lot of nods to the original. I think there's a lot of small and big things in it that fans of the original will appreciate um, because it does reference the original. But at the same time, we wanted it to be completely a standalone movie, so that if people hadn't seen the original, they can come in and hopefully enjoy this one as well.
Oh, we did so much. So we had a chance to watch it, myself and Michelle, which, by the way, Michelle's husband is Doc's stepbrother. And so that's how we have this connection. And so she and I, after the show yesterday, we sat down with some popcorn in my studio, turned the lights
Perfect.
off, and watched it. And so Doc had actually told me, Monica, I think you want to watch this with an audience. And I was like, well, even if I have an audience of one, I want to have somebody
Yep.
else around me. This is a comment I'm seeing from a lot of people, though, Doc, all the things on Instagram, and I was pulling some pictures and looking at all these comments. People were looking at South by Southwest, and they were looking at in London, and everyone's like, "Why can't we have it on the big screen?" They want that answer. What's the reason for it going straight to Amazon Prime here?
That's an Amazon thing when
Okay,
they control the distribution of it, and I think for them, clearly, it makes more sense for them to put it on their streaming platform. But for me as a moviegoer, I love seeing it in the theater, and I do wish that people kind of had the option to do either.
Agreed.
When we, as we sort of, before the movie's completely finished, but as we're kind of in the second half of editing, we do, as you know, these things called preview screenings, where
Mhm.
it'll be a recruited audience of 200, 250 strangers, and you put the movie up in front of them, and it's not finished
Right.
in our minds, but it's presented as a finished movie. You know, it does have polish, it does have, you know, some amount of kind of the visual effects and the sound effects work and everything. So it doesn't feel like a complete rough draft or anything like that.
Right.
Um, and that was our first time seeing the movie in theaters, and it was so much fun. I mean, the audience was just, they were all over the place with it, you know, laughing, cheering, clapping. I mean, there was even at one of the previews after the movie ended, there was an argument outside between two
Really?
guys, and they got into a fist fight
Are you
in the
serious?
hall, in the foyer, like right outside the theater. They had just come out of the preview. Yeah, just two random people who were there. I mean, they
What were
must have
they
known each
fighting
other.
over?
No idea. But we were like, oh, this is interesting. Like that sort of like energy from the screen, I guess,
Right.
kind of, you know,
Art
permeated them a
imitated
little bit.
life.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I tell that story just because it's like that was, I think,
That's
completely
funny.
because of, you know, kind of the communal experience of seeing it with a bunch of people and how that can kind of amp you up.
Well, it does, by the way, and I'm glad Doc said that. It does amp you up. I will say, from seeing the first one, and I mean, again, Patrick was just amazing in the original Roadhouse, but this, there's a whole escalation of the fight scenes, and I mean, Michelle and I were like, "Oh, ow, oh my god!" I'm sure you heard the same thing in the theater.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we were really trying to do, like, with the fight scenes was we wanted them, and Doug, the director, from go, you know, even before there's anything to edit, before there's anything shot yet, he and Henry, the cinematographer, were planning kind of how to shoot the fight scenes in a way that would capture what you described, that sort of escalation, and also just kind of really feeling kinetic and visceral, and that you would feel each punch and each twist and each drop, you know.
And each broken bone.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about Roadhouse. Again, it is out on Amazon Prime. Please watch it. I loved it. Michelle loved it. And I've seen like mixed reviews on it, but I'm like, okay, I heard some guy the other day on Camo X actually, and he said, "Well, it's probably not going to win any awards." And I was like, "Come on, don't be Debbie Downer. Give me a break." You don't know. I was super impressed with all of the cast. And so it's also, ladies, and I guess I should say ladies and gentlemen, there is a scene and then something at the very end. Do not leave at the credits. There's eye candy for you, or we'll just say butt shots for you. That
Yeah,
I was surprised.
plenty
I
of
was
that.
actually surprised lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, yeah, there's lots of that. There's lots of scantily clad people
Yep.
in this movie.
Well, and they're but the hello, let's look at this. They are built incredible. So Jake Gyllenhaal, by the way, is playing Dalton, and then you've got Connor. I mean, I saw an interview that he did, and he was like, I've been asked to do a lot of different movies, and he said, but when I read for this one, I thought, yes, I want to. He said Jake appreciates my craft, and I appreciate his so much. So tell us what it would like to be involved with the two of them, and then I have to believe that the editing, watching the whole movie, you have to tell me what the hardest part of the editing was, and then I'll tell you what we thought the hardest part of editing between their fight scenes was.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, I think they're both great, and I think what makes them work so well on screen is kind of how different they are from each other. You know,
Yes.
Connor comes into, well, let me start with Jake. Plays this character who's very inside his own head. It's very psychological. It's much more grounded. Um, and then halfway through the movie, Connor, who plays the main villain, shows up, and he's just like this agent of chaos. There's like, I mean, that's the only way I know how to
Great
describe it.
description. Yes.
And I think that, and that was something that we talked about a lot, and kind of finding the balance between the two. But I think that's why their on screen chemistry works so well, is because by the time these two objects, these two people collide, you already have a great sense of how different they are.
Sure.
and once Connor shows up in the movie, then like you're just there waiting for them to finally have that their first throwdown. I
Oh,
mean, that's
and boy,
it's coming, and you're just waiting.
well, and it's interesting because if you know the first one, you see the fight scene, you see Sam Elliott come to his rescue. I was waiting for that. I'm like, nope, see, this isn't a remake. So
Right.
where will this happen between them? And then he comes in with a golf club, and you're like, oh Lord, this is gonna go sideways. But
Yeah.
I love the homage to the band playing behind the fencing, and they continue to play during the whole thing. Michelle loved the guy with the maracas, and she's like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god,
me
I
too.
love the yeah." She's like, "I love the fact that Doc left all that in there." The guy keeps going during the fight. I mean, if again, all out melee, bottles busting everywhere, bones busting everywhere, and the music just continues to play. If you know the original, you know that same that kind of apples to apples is there. So I enjoyed that. But okay, so let's go to the fight scenes. So they have that in the bar, and then they are back again. Tell me how difficult it was to do the shooting and editing in the ocean.
Oh, in the ocean.
Oh my
So
gosh.
anytime anything's filmed in water, it's always more complicated for everyone. And in this case, a lot of it was actually filmed on the open water.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, what you'll do is there'll be a water tank, and you'll film some things in a water tank, and then the rest of it will be green screen, for example.
Okay.
Um, and because it's a more controlled environment, when you get with any movie like cars, planes, boats, these are big, dangerous things moving at generally you're trying to portray them moving at high rates of speed. So you have to control as much as you can for safety. So a lot of times movies will do a lot of that with green screen. In our case, all of the water stuff was done in real water. And a lot of it was done on the open water. There was a controlled tank for some of the smaller stunts and things like that,
Mhm.
where they're because then they're able to control this that the water is calm, or things like that. All these different variables, but so much of it was done practically for real, which makes for a really exciting time in the edit, because when I get the footage, I'm not looking at a person flying through the air in front of a green screen. I'm
Right.
looking at a person actually flying through the air. Like, for example, there's a moment, there's a boat chase in the movie. Spoiler if you haven't seen it. Um, and if you remember, Jake comes up on a smaller boat and then launches himself onto this larger boat
Yes.
by colliding with the larger boat, flying through the air, hitting the top of the larger boat, and then eventually lands on it. And they actually did that.
Oh,
Like, the poor stunt guy,
I
Steve,
was just gonna say
he
it's always the poor stunt people.
I mean, the stunts on this movie were amazing. The stunts, the fight choreography, and all of that was just otherworldly. And they rehearsed all of this for months before cameras were even rolling. And I think it shows, because like that moment I described, or any of the fight stuff, when you get there, it feels real, because they were effectively doing it for real. Of course, Connor and Jake weren't actually punching each other in the face, but they were really close to punching each other in the face,
Well,
and
I actually was gonna ask you, I saw some interviews where I would have asked the question, if I was interviewing Connor or Jake, I would say, "Did anybody miss and did anybody get hit?"
yes,
And the answers
yes,
was yes from many of them I
yes,
heard.
yeah, yeah. There were some accidents and some oops moments, I think, between everyone, and um, but yeah, that it was just so much fun. And the fight scenes, the way that Doug and Henry shot them, and the way that we edited them, were pretty unique, in that um, traditionally in a movie, when you're watching people fight, you're often going to very expected camera angles, because those camera angles hide the fact that if I'm throwing a punch, the person whose face I'm hitting is this far away or this
Right.
far away. And so the camera's in a very specific place to give the illusion that those two objects are much closer to each other. And as was the case with this movie, because of the design of the fights, we were able to put them together in a way where you're seeing angles that you wouldn't normally see in fights, and you're seeing connections between hands and body, or hands and face, that normally you don't see in movies.
You did, I mean, really, truly, you did such a fabulous job. I mean, I was looking from being in the business of editing and shooting and all that, my eyes looking at it a different way. And I was like, oh my God, Doc. And I literally was like standing up, like, holy cow, this is incredible. Which we had fun at
Thank
the end,
you.
by the way. When I went to see Book Club, which, by the way, Doc edited as well, I remember at the end being in the theater, taking a snapshot and texting it to him. We did the same thing for you at the end of the movie here.
I
We both
love it.
laughed. We both were like, "Way to go, Doc! You did such a great job."
That's
Michelle, obviously
awesome.
very proud of you, as am I. This, where would you put this in the scale of difficulty in all of the projects you've done?
Good question. They're all hard. Like they're all difficult for different reasons. I think with this one, the most challenging part of it as a storyteller was balancing the tone, because it's a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, um, but also when you go that route, you have to be careful because if it doesn't feel like any of the stakes of the movie are real,
Mhm.
then the audience doesn't get invested in it. So
Sure.
trying to find the balance of like the fun and the funny and the humor of it while also having it kind of work as an action movie,
Mhm.
um, was a big challenge, and also finding the right mix of what I mentioned earlier about Jake and Connor and kind of the tone of the movie.
Yep.
I think the tone of movies is always one of the most challenging things. I say that each movie has its own different set of challenges, but that's almost universal. You're always trying to find what's the best
Sure.
kind of feel and tone for it. So this one was no different in that way, and I'm really happy with how it ended up.
You should be. You all should be. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about one of the things that I'm seeing in so many comments, and people are saying, "Oh my gosh, look at how ripped and how incredible of shape that Jake is in." And people were like, "Yeah, he's on something. It's not real." And I'm like, "He's super super lean. Anybody who knows hardcore training, you go to this level months before, weeks before, days before. Obviously, there's also lighting and makeup and camera angles, but the guy is in incredible shape, and he didn't just do it overnight. He's regularly in good shape. I mean, he keeps himself in good shape, but yes, he went a whole nother level. So we'll talk about that and you being around him and editing all of that. The guy, his athletic ability just went a whole nother level, and he should be very proud of what he was up against with Connor, by the way. So we'll have more
Yeah.
with Doc Krautzer talking about Roadhouse, which again is officially out on Amazon Prime. Really awesome movie. I highly recommend you see it. We'll have more with Doc when we return. We need women to lift women up. Let's do that.
Show. It was like one of the best interviews I've ever had.
Monica's very real, and she really cares about people.
She's changing lives.
Changing lives. I think this is just really what people want to see.
Giving back so much to the community, and I really appreciate it.
Today, Monica was extraordinarily real, not only with me, but with her viewers and her listeners.
Made the interview process like talking to a friend.
How are you doing? See you. Good to see you as Haven't well. Seen you in a few weeks.
Hey, hey. You're close.
Monica. Whoa.
So go out in this world and be anything you want to be. But before you do that, first, be kind.
That's right. We say it all the time. Welcome back to the Real Monica Adams Show. We have been visiting with Doc Krautzer. Doc, again, editing so many incredible projects, but the latest that we're talking about is Roadhouse. It is a reimagination of the original back in 1989 with Patrick Swayze, and now this one with Jake Gyllenhaal. We were talking before we went to the break about the shape that Jake is in for this movie. Again, it's not like he was sitting on the couch and he was like this overweight person. He's in shape, but can you talk about the level of where he got to for this movie?
Wild. I remember the first time I saw the footage, I was like, "What?" You can't help but sort of go, "Whoa!" And then the second kind of thought I had immediately after that was, "Oh, people are going to think that we like doctored this up after the fact." That's how committed he was to it, and I know he has said that once he heard Connor was doing the movie, he felt like he kind of had to take himself to the next level so that on screen it would be believable that these two guys were foes, and that it wasn't one-sided. And I think it clearly worked.
He is ripped. I mean, ripped. I don't think Michelle had evidently seen like promos and things for it. So when he popped up on screen, she goes, "Holy, you know what?" And I was like, "Yes, he has like 13 abs."
Yeah. It was like abs on top of abs.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yes. But I also love, so, you were sitting there waiting from the original. Patrick had this romantic relationship with the doctor. And so you see that kind of play out. It really cracks me up, the woman that he has the romantic interest with, that she makes this comment of, thank you so much for bringing all these people into the hospital room and giving them all this extra work. I was looking, though, for the scars like Patrick had. So it isn't apples to apples, because Patrick had all these stabs on him.
Yep.
Jake goes in or Dalton goes in and has the one to his side, doesn't want to be sutured up. She just puts a band-aid on it and has him on his way. But I like the fact that it wasn't the same. Here I was, though, as a movie watcher going, oh, he doesn't have the same scars. And I was like, it's
Yeah.
not a remake.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, though, because when you have someone who knows the original movie coming in, it's like, how many of those sort of morsels do you want to be the same, and how many do you want to not be the same? And so I think the writers, Anthony and Chuck and Doug, the director, I think constantly along the way, as they were getting ready to shoot and filming, and Joel, the producer of the movie, who also was the producer of the original Roadhouse, I think the four of them were always kind of constantly weighing just how many references to have and how far to go with that stuff. But it's tricky.
Absolutely. Well, and I do like they kept the one thing really that you'll all remember, hopefully, from the original is, when the comments or the question is asked, do you win a lot of fights? And the
Yeah.
response back is
Yeah.
still the same as it was in the original.
It's such a great line. Nobody wins a fight. Yeah.
Nobody wins a fight. That's right. I also love the connection. Who's the young girl that works at when he first comes into the Florida Keys, and she talks about the trees, the tree book.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
sweet.
Hannah, she's great. I mean,
Yes.
you never know with child actors kind of what you're going to get, and as an editor, and she was just fantastic. She kind of had that sort of spirit that I think comes across on the screen. She was bringing all of that. We didn't, it was not a lot of work to try and manufacture that, because it was just already there. And I think her chemistry with Jake, from the beginning, was just kind of a really sweet thing, and a nice kind of balance to have in a movie where people are running around stabbing, kicking, punching, exploding things all the time. It's just a different element that gives you a moment to breathe whenever he's in there, and connect with Dalton's character, I think, on a different level.
Yes.
Even though he's a mystery, and that's kind of the point. A lot of his past is a mystery. The way he interacts with her gives you some insight into the character.
Right, and you're going to see the darkness that plays out. I don't want to give a ton of things away in the movie, but kind of running from an aspect of his past and what happens, and to get him escalated to the point of what happened in this that continues to haunt him and comes back and is played back to him, and that level does go again. I also love, there's a truck scene that it mirrors the same thing as what you were saying earlier about the boat, of how he ends up in the back of the truck, how he ends up in the back of the
Yep.
boat. Again, absolutely amazing. You are going to be floored by Doc's editing skills, floored by the level of the fighting, and how you swear, as Doc said, they have to have hit each other. This looks so unbelievably real. I can't believe it's not. If you're a big Connor fan, you're going to love his performance in this movie. He nails it, and I'm so happy with every level of the casting. I mean, do you agree with that? The casting was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it was great. I mean, there's not a single weak role in the movie. I think everyone brought it, and even the actors who had less to do than Connor and Jake,
Right,
who had smaller parts, but they still had their moments. I think they all shined in their own way, which is great.
well, and
And
being
again,
introduced.
that's sort of like something you hope for, but you don't always get that.
Yet. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, so yes, you've got some big names. You'll also go, oh wait, who's that? Oh, I've seen him before. But then you have new people to us that I was like, wow, really, really good. Who is the woman that plays the romantic interest with Dalton?
Daniela Melchior.
Okay, I wanted you
Yeah.
to say. I'm like, I'm not going to pronounce her name properly.
Yeah. I may not have pronounced the last name properly either. So,
Well,
um,
Daniela, she
Daniela,
is
she's great.
she's wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so I
she really
saw
is.
a bunch of comments on Instagram last night, and people were looking at the scene where he's like, "Where are we going?" And they have this date, right? He's like, "You'll let me
Hmm.
know the date." And so many people were commenting saying, "Oh my gosh, I want that. That looks so romantic. I want that date." That's a really wonderful chemistry part between the two of them.
Definitely. I think they're great together. And it was a really deliberate choice with this movie comparing it to the original to have that romantic relationship be different than the Patrick Swayze Kelly Lynch relationship in the original. And it was like a very clear choice to not have it just be the same. And I think that'll surprise some people.
Yes. Well, and I agree because again, it's hard not to go back and forth and think, okay, is this going to play out? Is this going to play out? I
Yeah.
highly recommend that you don't do that. Since we're telling
Right.
you it's a reimagination, don't look for it to be, okay, is this going to happen between the two of them? Because the answer is no. It might. There might be a few
Yeah.
things, but pretty much the answer is no. It's not supposed to be, okay, they're redoing this, because I think there's a lot of people that are such big fans of the original that they don't want it remade. And the answer
Right.
is it's not.
Yeah. And that's sort of the dance, it's like with a movie like that, I think about some of my favorite movies from the 80s, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Back to
Oh
the
yeah.
Future, and the idea of remaking either of those is sacrilege to me. Um but would I be interested in seeing another movie that like continues some version of a story of those that still leaves the original on its own? Like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So I think that was what you were trying to do here, and to your point, like hopefully people who love the original who watch this will be able to go in with kind of an open mind and understand that this one is not trying to encroach in any way on the original. It's just trying to build off of it.
Sure. Absolutely. What are your thoughts? Because this is also very hard when there's iconic movies like you're mentioning that then play out on live theater. It's funny. I will take my husband to like the Fox or the Muni, and he'll go, "Oh, like we went and saw Mrs. Doubtfire, and all he did the entire
Hmm.
time was compare the guy who was playing the main character to Robin Williams." And I'm like,
Right.
"No, don't do
Yeah.
that." Right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard. I mean, yeah, especially if it's like if you're being compared to Robin Williams, it's like
Right.
you're that poor man playing that part.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think it's interesting. I mean, I love seeing kind of the stage versions of movies. I'm trying to think recently. I saw To Kill a Mockingbird in New York, which was great. I saw Back to the Future the musical, which is
What do you
also
think?
great. But it's great. It really is. It's another one though that is I like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes.
I think with Michael J. Fox and with Christopher Lloyd, they're so burned into your brain and they're
Right.
so perfect in those roles
Yeah.
that it's just such an uphill battle for whoever might be playing them on stage, and both of whom do a wonderful job and kind of make it their own, which I think is the only way you can do. Like you can't just do a impersonation
No.
of playing whoever
Right.
from that famous movie, because then it just feels a little phony. You have to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of make it your own. So, but no, I enjoy seeing them. But I agree with you. I have moments whenever I see adaptations of things or remakes of movies, or now sometimes movies from 10 or 20 years ago are getting turned into TV shows. Anytime there's like a new version of something that I know well, it's hard when you watch it to not constantly do that
Yes.
comparison, even when the thing is designed to be different.
Right. It's hard because you do. I mean, Doc listed some great ones for me. I will forever watch Pretty Woman when it comes on. I'm such a huge Julia fan that I was like, nobody else can be in that role.
Yeah.
Devil Wears Prada, though, which I think is interesting. They're going to have that. I think in London, isn't it? They're doing that live in London.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so.
I want that to come to the US because I'm such a huge fan of Devil Wears Prada that I'd like to see that played out on live stage. But
Yeah.
anyway, we're talking again about Roadhouse one more time. Doc Krotzer, the editor on this incredible movie. It's on Amazon Prime, and you're going to see Jake and Connor in the most amazing fight scenes I think I've ever seen. I truly say that. I mean, I look back at all these different movies and I'm like, no, gosh, the level, you guys really leveled it up here. So to all of you, you should be super, super proud.
Thank
What's
you.
upcoming on your docket?
I'm working on another movie right now. It's called Miss You, Love You. Um, it'll be out probably early next year, just guessing, but not sure exactly. Allison Janney's in it,
Okay.
and Andrew Rannells, and um, it's a great little dramedy.
Oh, dramedy.
And yeah, so I always try and not work on the same thing twice, and not work on the same thing twice in a row. So it's a great kind of thing to be doing after Roadhouse. This is like a very small movie with two people in a house talking about things like loss, but it's in grief, but it's very funny too. So yeah, so it's a good mix, and I'm excited for that one too. So that's next up, and then who knows? Figure it
And
out.
well, again, he's so talented. Look for, as I just showed you, look for this at the very end of the movie. And after you watch it, stand up and applaud and say, hey, I saw him on Monica's show. Because again, he does a wonderful job, as does everybody that was a part of this. So it's out again on Amazon Prime. I highly recommend that you watch it. You will really enjoy it. And you'll do the same thing that Michelle and I did constantly of, ow, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just trust me on that.
Yeah,
Doc, you're back on our show anytime.
thank you so much. And I would just say, if you have a sensitivity for violence, maybe this isn't the movie for you.
Yes, forewarned, exactly. But it's not like
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, oh, is it like blood, guts, whatever? I'm like, no, it's actually tastefully done, but you definitely
Yeah.
are cringing when you're like, oh, how did
Yes.
somebody not break their bones there? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
All
Doc,
right.
thank you. Thank you so very much. And the
Of
best of luck
course.
to you on the newest film. And again, maybe we'll have you back on to talk about that with Allison Janney in 2025.
Sounds great. Thanks for watching this one.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. We'll talk about it. If you had a chance to see it, I'd like for you to weigh in. We'll talk about some big things coming up this weekend. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, it's Monica Adams. Thank you so much for following along with The Real Monica Adams Show since we launched back in March. But I wanted to let you know there's so much more that I could do with you, your business, your corporation. Did you know that I'm a motivational speaker all around the world, as well as an MC and an auctioneer? So if you have an event, maybe a nonprofit organization, and you want to book me, just shoot me an email, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Personal training, life coaching, and styling as well. Info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. 7:52 on a Friday. It is March 22nd. I hope you enjoyed that. Did any of you get a chance to see it yesterday? I gave you some homework. I don't know if you got a chance to get onto Amazon Prime and watch it. I've been looking at some of the comments, and Marilyn, I agree with you. I don't want the movie theaters to go away. I too, like you, enjoy being in the big screen and then being around an audience. Sometimes there's really nothing like it. And there are certain movies that deserve to be on the big screen. Yes, streaming has changed a lot of that, but we've got to get on the bandwagon with it, or we're just going to be left in the background, right? It's unfortunate. We can kick and scream and say, don't let it go away. I hope, it's sad to see sometimes you drive around and see some of your favorite movie theaters, and a lot of them have closed down, but you got to get out there. You got to still support it. I love the fact that Leona said there's nothing like those sitting in your pajamas with a glass of wine with a bunch of girlfriends. Yes, I mean, that's fun too. You got to weigh the two together, but I don't think they'll ever completely go away. Cross your fingers and you hope not. I saw Richard's comment asking if I like the fact that Michelle actually responded and said, I'm not going to spoil it. Is the throat grab still in the movie? Let me just tell you, there's a bunch of a lot of things that happen, and fights that, I mean this, have escalated a whole nother level. So Richard, you're going to love it. Watch it today, and then you can reach out to me and tell me what you thought. I'll pass those comments along to Doc. Robin, my cousin, good morning to you, by the way. I know, Diana, right? Love The Devil Wears Prada. I mean, I love the scene. You and I are so big into fashion. So every time she comes and she drops her coat and drops her bag on, it's probably one of my favorites, on the desk. It's like, look at that, look at that bag, look at that coat. Oh my gosh, another level. And when they go in to the wardrobe area to get Anne Hathaway all dolled up, that is like a dream. I'm like, look at all those clothes. But yes, it would be very interesting to see that play out. I hope it comes to the United States. I think it's in England right now, to be again on live theater with Devil Wears Prada. Love Allison Janney. Why does St. Louis lack getting more Hollywood here in our area? Maryland, actually, that has changed. A lot of it used to have to do with the taxes in Missouri, and they were able to save money and shoot elsewhere, but that has changed. So look for more and more. John O'Leary's film On Fire was filmed here, and hopefully that'll be out sometime later in the fall. So they are kind of like what Doc was saying. They have edited things up. They're going to be doing these previews, and then they continue to go from there until we ever get a chance to see it. And I hope that one is at theaters and not straight to streaming. Let's see. Michelle says actually up until recently, oh, never mind. She just told you St. Louis gave no tax credits or rewards to movies to come film in St. Louis. So it was very expensive for them to film here. Yes, things were changed. They were changed actually within the last couple of years and big time within the last 6 months. So you should see more and more of that happening. Again, as I said, cross your fingers to that. So this weekend, as I mentioned, the St. Louis City SC game against DC United Saturday night. I'll be doing some reels and stories from there. If you haven't been into the stadium, I'll show you some pictures from there. But I want you to go purchase those tickets if you get a chance to, because there's nothing like it. I mean, again, I enjoy going to Enterprise Center. I love going to Busch Stadium. Used to go and cover the St. Louis Rams at the Dome. But when this stadium opened up, I just, like a little kid, my eyes were so wide, my jaw was dropped open. I couldn't believe the level of how gorgeous the stadium is. So looking forward to that. Can't believe it's another colder game though. We went last year. Jim surprised me for my birthday and it snowed. It was one of the coldest nights. Do you remember this? It was right around my birthday. So it was in that March 19th, 20th week. I don't know exactly what day we went, but all I know is it was below freezing and everybody in that stadium was bundled up with like 5 layers. I went to the Ace Hardware store, bought hand warmers and feet warmers and body warmers. My mom was so funny. She called and said, "Please tell me you'll leave if you're too cold." And I felt like a little girl over again. And I was like, "Mom, thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to be there. We're all going to go through it together." And St. Louis City SC won, so it warmed your heart. And yes, am I going to say it wasn't cold? It was cold, but you started to forget about it by watching the athletic display on the field. So not as cold, but it is going to be in the 40s, about 48 for a low tomorrow during game time. So be ready for that. 7:30, by the way. A lot of basketball on tap. I said it's one of the least productive weeks with everybody filling out their brackets and then maybe people taking off and seeing all the games, a whole slate of games on tap again today. Do you guys fill out the brackets? I don't, but I'm hearing people putting Duke and UConn in there. So I'm not as familiar with basketball. I played it when I was in grade school and high school. Just not a big fan of watching it. But if you are, good luck to your teams and hopefully your bracket's not busted yet. Terry said I watched it yesterday. It was very good. Kept my attention the entire time. Jake is amazing and a lot of great action shots. Well done. Hard to remake an original. I give it a 7 out of 10. The original still gets a higher score in my opinion. Well, that's because everybody's a huge Patrick Swayze fan, right? I'm actually going to look because Doc made a good point, and let me see here. So I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes website and it has 66% on the tomato meter with 114 reviews, 62% from an audience score. And if you listen to what Doc said, he said if it was above 50%, then that's a good thing. So not bad. Diane says she loves March Madness. Stephanie, Illinois won yesterday. Thank you for the heads up on that. Can hardly wait for John's movie. That's On Fire, by the way. Love that guy. No surprise to be filmed here where he lived. But there's a lot of things that were done here, though, right? If you look back at movies that have to do with the St. Louis or a Missouri connection, they weren't shot here because of the whole tax thing in the past. My hubby was an extra in a movie filmed downtown in the 80s, and what an experience. I was told by a stuntman that people of my age are in demand for movies. My day is still to come. Get in it, Marilyn. St. Charles, go to Advance Auto Parts this weekend to visit the 2 crazy taco food trucks. best old world tacos and burritos. Christy Vargas and crew can make your day. Well, look at you, Carrie, with a little plug there. I want to plug something that I'm very proud of, and it actually debuts today. If you have followed Grunt Style Foundation or American Grit, it's called Gaslighting the Warfighter, Psilocybin's Path to Veteran Healing. And Tim Jensen is the CEO of Grunt Style and affiliated with the Grunt Style Foundation as well. Some of the work that we have done together, I said this before, is the proudest I have been of any work that I've done in my career. And a lot of reasons is what we're able to do to give back to our veterans. It is also taking me out of my comfort zone and challenging me. And I love a challenge. And so here's a little sneak peek.
Talk about psilocybin and what that is. A mushroom that grows from the ground that has been around for presumably millions of years. Incredible tool for individuals that are suffering from depression. Coming from the FDA, labeling this particular medicine, breakthrough modalities of treatment. 2 independent studies that came forward in 2022. The modality of treatment healed individuals, and understanding the true power of what this medicine can do for individuals that are suffering from PTS, individuals that have treatment-resistant depression, and other things that can be greatly affected by this medicine.
So that is going to air today. I want you to follow multiple levels of the things that those men do. So Grunt Style Foundation, that is the nonprofit arm of Grunt Style. And as I said, a lot of you have probably said, oh, I don't think I know Grunt Style. You do. Trust me. You've seen the t-shirts. I mean, our t-shirt has the Monica Adams logo on it. Their logo is the 2 rifles. It says this. Our country, this we'll defend. And then the nonprofit arm of it is the Grunt Style Foundation, and what amazing work they do. And what we're going to be talking about is the overprescription of opioids. Please, to anyone that you know is suffering from mental health, depression, was a veteran, is in the Army right now, is in the Navy, in the Air Force, the Marines, Coast Guard, I don't care. If it's a law enforcement, if it's a firefighter, any level that is affected by PTSD, mental health, depression, etc., if they have been prescribed opioids and there is an overprescription problem in our world, we're talking about hallucinogenics that are used in other countries that are truly helping. I mean, think about what our title sponsor has done at Invita Health and Wellness, ketamine treatments, and the level of trauma and depression, anger, fear, all those things, anxiety that people have gone through. And she's been able to help them there with ketamine. But there are other levels and even more things. So maybe in about a year's time, we'll be talking about psilocybin trials being here in our area. There is a House bill and there is a Senate bill that they are looking to pass to be able to start those trials and to help out all of those that are affected to get them off of the opioid addiction. I'm really, really proud of it. And I do hope you watch it. So Grunt Style Foundation, AmericanGrit.com is where I want you to go. Subscribe so you can get the information on the different series that they do. There's 2 actually that I've done. And I literally mean this when I say that I brought myself to tears when I looked at the work that we did last fall. And this is our next iteration. So do me a favor and please check that out. And I'd like to know how it affects your life. All right, everybody, it's a Friday. I want you to get out and enjoy. Get a gorgeous day on tap today. If you didn't hear the forecast, 70s for today, right about 70. We're going to have some sunshine, starting to get about probably in the afternoon, partly cloudy. By 2 p.m., you might see the change of the clouds. And then by 5 p.m., a 20% chance of rain, 8 p.m., 30% chance of rain. And then tomorrow's high, 54 with a low of 48, and Sunday's high will be 61. Should be dry, but as we go into Monday and Tuesday, breezy and some rain in the forecast for you as we get into next week. All right. Love you all so very much. Thank you for sharing and liking and following our live stream, as it says at the bottom, 7 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday. And we are right now on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram, and we are on X and platforms to come, all because you're here making a difference, as we hope we can do with you together. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. I'll be back with you on Monday with Medical Monday and Ask the Doctor. God bless you all, and remember to be kind.